The winter season is finally here, and with this comes less sunlight during the day. Limited sunshine, which regulates our circadian rhythms, result in metabolic changes that can significantly affect our well-being. Therefore, children and adults can start to feel tired, irritable, and even sad. In this episode, we will be addressing the importance of making time for taking care of yourself. Tasha Weatherspoon will be sharing with you some self-care tips that will help you to build a self-care routine at home or at work that will help you combat the winter blues, not only during these cold, dark winter months, but in every season. Welcome to Activating the Creative in You, where we gather with everyday people who are making a difference. Thank you for joining in on Activation Talks, where we share with you encouraging and thought provoking discussions that are meant to activate you to move into God's purpose for your life. Hi, my name is Nancy Barrios, and I am your host. Today we have with us the wonderful, calm, and cool, collected Tasha Weatherspoon.
Oh, thank you, Nancy. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me to participate today.
Well, thank you for making time because I know you have a very busy schedule and it's not
Yes,
always possible to be able to find moments like this to sit down and just talk and share, right?
right. But it's important. So thank you for just setting a date so that we can get it done.
Before we begin, I always like to introduce my guests with the things
Mhm.
that they have that make them interesting and unique.
Sure. I'm checking in with you all today from Fort Heights, Illinois. I am a physical therapist. I've been a physical therapist for over 20 years, and I've primarily worked with older adults throughout my career. And I also am an adjunct faculty member at Northwestern University, so I teach there part time. And I really enjoy doing that because I love working with the students. It keeps me fresh with my clinical skills when I'm working with patients, and it just rejuvenates me to give back to Northwestern in that way because I graduated from there in 1998. So I also enjoy traveling, reading, spending time with friends and family in creative ways during this pandemic. And I'm really excited about our topic today because it's something that I've definitely put into practice and I can see how it's helped me in my own life.
I wanted to take a moment and thank you, Tasha, because you're actually one of the people that that is going out in the midst of this COVID pandemic and providing what are considered essential services. Not
Yes.
all of us are 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 in that place. Some of us get to stay at home and hide
Mhm.
from all this fear of getting sick. Yet you are out
Mhm.
there every day in the trenches providing services. So thank you for what you're doing.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm working in a nursing home, which I know there's a lot of fear out there about people's parents and relatives being in nursing homes, but I can say that where I'm working, we're going above and beyond to make sure that we're keeping ourselves safe as well as keeping the patients safe by wearing all of the PPE, constantly sanitizing our hands, and just being a ray of sunshine to the patients that are there that can't get out and visit with their families like they're used to. So it's definitely an act of service, a labor of love, a lot of hours being put in, but we're doing the best that we can to keep the families informed of how their relatives are doing too, just to give them that peace of mind because of all the unfortunate negative things they've heard on the news. They're a little scared about how their family members are doing. So we're in constant communication with patients and families to help keep them connected and know that they're okay.
Thank you for giving us that encouragement because we who
Yes.
are on the other side sometimes worry about what's happening on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
and you're
Mm-hmm.
letting us know that it's going to be okay. Before I jump in into the topic, I want to ask you one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a fun fact or
Yes.
something unique that you would like to share that is kind of more lighthearted with the
Oh,
audience
yeah.
about you?
I kind of got a few fun facts. Many people do not know that I don't have any children of my own, but I have 13 godchildren, and that's a lot. One of my friends, when she got married, she said, Tasha, we're going to have a lot of children, and we want you to be the godmother of them all. And I was like, sure, no problem. Do you know that 9 of the 13 godchildren come from that one family? So they keep me on my toes, keep me in touch with what the new toys are, new gadgets are, new electronics. And I have a lot of fun with them whenever I get to spend time with them. And I have another set of godchildren, 3 from another family, and one more young lady that I'm a godmom to, and they bring me a lot of joy.
That's incredible that you are able to be such an influencer with so many young children and young lives. And
Yes.
I know for a fact that that's a blessing because you're an
Mhm.
amazing person. And that's why I invited you to this podcast, because I remember when I first met you, I met
Mhm.
you earlier this year when the pandemic had just exploded. And
Mm.
what jumped out was the fact that you were on Facebook doing check-ins, which was I was like, what is that all about? And it, it kind of was like something unique because I had never really heard of anything like that.
Mhm.
Can you share a little bit more about what was going on at that time, Tasha?
Wow. At that time, I was doing some travel physical therapy. So I was in Georgia and Florida and different parts of Illinois. And I just wanted to see how people were doing, just hop on Facebook because I wasn't in town, close to my friends and family. So I just wanted to get on there, say a few encouraging words. Sometimes things will come to me while I'm working or while I'm driving. I'm like, you know what? That might be something somebody else is thinking about. So I just hop on Facebook Live and do it. And it was just another way for me to stay in touch with friends and family since I was working out of state at the time. Now I'm back home and moving on to different things like podcasts.
That's why I think, in all practicality, you're an excellent candidate for this podcast because you were doing something that was unique, which is called self care. And on that note, what are we going to be talking or sharing with our audience today?
Today is a great topic for this season, how to beat the winter blues with self care. And there are just so many benefits of making sure that you're taking care of yourself so that ultimately you can be a blessing and a help to those that are around you. And all of this really started for me when my dad was ill. My dad was ill for almost like 2 year period there where he had some health challenges that just got worse and worse and worse. And I was the primary caregiver for him, taking care of him, taking him to the doctor, still trying to work a full-time job. And unfortunately, my dad had very poor circulation to both of his legs to the point where he ended up getting both legs amputated within a 7 month period. So that was a huge adjustment to his life and to my life because I needed to be available to help take care of him. He even lived with me, moved in to live with me for a while. And basically, Nancy, I just got exhausted from trying to be everything that I could for him, as well as maintain a full time job. And I was still teaching at the time. And I didn't realize that the wheels were spinning and I was running out of steam. And when he passed away in 2017, that's when it basically all hit me because I had just been going, doing everything, still serving in different ministries at church, still being very involved with different conferences we had at church. And I just didn't realize how exhausted I was until after he passed away. And the grief hit as well. So it was like 2 whammies, because I didn't have a time to grieve really because I was just so focused on being there for him and taking care of him. And when the grief hit me, it was like a tsunami. I just was depressed. I didn't really care about anything and I was exhausted. So That's what led me to do travel physical therapy for a while because I felt like I needed a change of scenery. I needed a change in my routine because the last few years had been spent taking care of my dad, which I'm grateful that I was able to do that. But I just didn't realize how much it taken a toll on me and getting used to calling him, stopping by the house, bringing him lunch. He would go for rides with me because he just liked to get out of the house. And so when he passed away, all of that changed. And I was just like, now, what do I do? What do I do with myself? What do I do with my life? Because it was so wrapped with being there for him and all of his multiple doctor's appointments. So I started to just say, you know what, Tasha, you have got to get yourself together, take better care of yourself, making sure you're drinking water, eating healthy, exercising, and going to God about the grief so that I could, function as a good healthcare worker to my patients because I was so overwhelmed that I didn't even really want to work. I had my own home health business at the time that I was taking care of my father. And when he passed away, I was just bombarded with more referrals and they just wanted me to, keep working the way that I was before. And I was just like, I can't, it's just too much. And so I just had to take several steps back and make sure that I was taking care of myself because I knew that my father would want me to move on with my life and, go ahead and do things that I enjoyed doing. But I needed to really, really, really get a handle and make sure that I was doing better at taking care of myself. And in doing so, getting a change of scenery, taking better care of myself, I began to feel more like myself again and enjoy life.
Basically, you were in a crisis when you realized that
Absolutely.
you had not really had the best regimen for
Hmm.
self-care. And
Hmm.
it, unfortunately, sometimes we have to go through these horrible
Yeah.
moments to make us kind of take a moment and be still
Hmm.
and realize that uh, we have to care for others, but we also have to take care for ourselves, right?
Right.
And
Yes.
uh,
It was
yes.
absolutely a crisis time. It was a rude awakening where I just really had to allow God to be my anchor,
Hmm.
the anchor of my soul, and get the replenishment that I needed from God so that I could go out and be a blessing to those that are around me. So I have several tips and scriptures that I wanted to share with you. And one of them, I'll just look at my notes here, is from Mark chapter 12, 30 through 31, where it tells us to love the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our mind, with all our soul, and all our strength. And then verse 31 goes on to say, love your neighbor as yourself. How can you love your neighbor? Really, how can you love your neighbor if you're not loving yourself? And so when I began to love myself, take better care of myself, then I had the strength, I had the energy, I had the joy to love those around me. And it was very, very, very fulfilling.
The things that you would like for the audience to wrap their minds around that are important was, number one, you mentioned the love others as you love yourself. If you are not
Hmm.
loving yourselves, you do not have the reserves to love others. And you gave
Yeah.
us a perfect example of how at that moment you were just go, 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 pouring yourself sacrificially out of love
Hmm.
for your father, because that was your
Absolutely.
father. But you
Hmm.
were not realizing that in the midst of that, you weren't loving yourself, right?
Right. I got out of balance. I got out
Hmm.
of balance with it all. And I was burning the candle at both ends and losing my spark.
It's important to establish a regular self-care regimen. And
Yes.
in that process, you had not really put much attention to that, right?
No, I didn't. I wasn't, simple things. I wasn't taking vitamins. There were times where I wasn't drinking enough water. Just something simple like that with drinking water. If you don't drink enough water, you can become dehydrated, you can get bladder infections. And in older adults, I see this happen with them quite often. If they don't drink enough water, they get urinary tract infections, which can lead to confusion and hallucination and all kinds of other problems just from not simply drinking enough water. So I am also a kidney donor. I
Wow.
donated one of my kidneys to my stepdad in 2016. And so the doctors told me at that time that it was very important for me to make sure that I drink, plenty of water, 4 to 5 bottles of water a day to help prevent me from getting bladder infections and things like that because I have one kidney. So I do make sure that I drink plenty of water. Uh, and I make it a part of my routine every day to try to get 2 bottles of water. I drink it before lunchtime, then I have a bottle of water at lunchtime. And then that way, when I get home and get ready for dinner, I have one more bottle of water. So I've gotten my 4 in. And if I get another one in before I go to sleep, that's a bonus. But at least I know I've gotten my bottles of water in by dinner time. Drinking the water has also helped give me mental clarity, because if you don't drink enough water, for myself, I get headaches if I don't drink enough water. So there's lots of things that water has benefits to us, and just making sure that I drink it regularly is very important. Another thing that I make sure that I do is take vitamins. I like the gummy vitamins because I really am not a big fan of taking a lot of pills. So I just pop 2 of these in my mouth in the morning, and then I got my vitamins in, and it's just become a habit for me. For fun, I like to use these masks. They have lots of them, Nancy. They have them for your face, they have them for your hands, they also have them for your feet, a little petty mask. So I like to do those on a regular basis to keep my feet nice and soft during the winter months. And
Okay.
you can just get these at any little beauty supply store. Those are just some of the tips that I use, and there are a few more I can share with you later.
We were mentioning winter
Yes.
blues, right? So,
Yes.
what are your key points in regards to having gone through this difficult season that allowed you to understand that self-care was important? How could you tie that into what's happening now? Because we're facing the most difficult part of the year for many. There's
Yes.
something called seasonal affective disorder. It's an
Right.
actual diagnosis that it takes place during this time of the year because we have less sun and our
Mm-hmm.
circadian rhythms are affected, and therefore it causes an imbalance with serotonin levels. Now, we are sharing this information with the audience. We're not
Yes.
experts. This is just information, background information that I gathered as we prepared for this episode. So it's a
Right.
real thing. Some people actually will go into depression, and
Mm-hmm.
with that also comes the physical and the mental things that can take place. We want to be able to make it through the winter. We've already
Yes.
been in a very difficult situation with COVID, with the shut in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
many of us have basically spent summer isolated
Yeah.
from each other, and the holidays are quickly approaching us. Not everyone
Mm-hmm.
lives with someone in their home. Some people are actually alone.
Right.
It's starting to get more difficult.
This pandemic, to me, although it is a crisis for the whole world, I feel like I've already gone through my personal crisis, and now I have some strategies to help me make it through this pandemic. So, exercise is definitely something that you can do at home to help you with the winter blues, to help you overcome seasonal affective disorders and depression. Again, I'm not an expert either in all those different type of disorders, but I am a physical therapist, and I know that exercise is a great way to help you overcome depression. You can even take nature walks. It's nice to go for a walk, even though it's a little chilly outside, but go for a walk along a lake or near some water, or where you can see some different scenery and feel the sun shining on your face, even though it's cold outside. But just get yourself moving, and that will help increase your energy and just help you be grateful for all the beautiful things that you see when you're out there walking.
Never underestimate the power of self care to help you be in ministry and service to others for the long haul. How do you
Yeah.
see that on your end? How do you see that applying with the whole idea of self care? And even in the middle of winter,
Yes.
how does that play out? Especially if we can't really be in contact with people physically. What are
Hmm.
some ideas around that concept?
Yeah. Well, the good thing about seasons is that they do change. When winter is over, spring is coming, summer is coming, fall is coming. And so, what I'd like to encourage everyone is think of your life as a marathon and not a sprint. Put in practice some regular self care tips that's going to help you sustain your life for the long haul because we are not in a sprint. You want to be effective in ministry 5 years from now, 10 years from now. You want to be effective as a wife, as a husband, as an employee, 5, 10, 20 years from now. So, what are the things you do need to do now to make sure that you end your life well? And so, when I think about some of the basic things that I'm doing for self care, that's what I'm thinking. Long term, I want to be in good shape. So, what does that mean for me to do now in this season? What can I do? How can I be creative? How can I be flexible with this pandemic to make sure that I'm doing different types of self care? There's another scripture that I'd like to share in Matthew 24:13 that it says, "He who endures to the end will be saved." And that's what really keeps me going, that we need to put into practice simple self care tips that will help us endure to the end. This pandemic is going to be over after a while. So we want to come out stronger and better, more resilient because of it, and not burnt out, right?
Yes. I was getting ready to ask you, what is the takeaway point? And you
Yeah.
encapsulated it right there with that
Thank you.
that last piece that you share. And I love the scripture. Can you mention that scripture again? He who
Yes, it's Matthew 24:13. He who endures to the end will be saved.
that's it. That's the
That's
takeaway
it.
point, right?
Uh-huh. We're in it for the
Wow.
long haul.
Yes. I always ask my guests, where will you hope to be, let's say 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I just found out this week that I got accepted into the University of Montana's doctorate of physical therapy program. So I will be starting on January 4th, and the program is, I think, about 18 months long. So 5 years from now, I'll be a doctor. Yes. And I hope to be teaching more at that point, teaching more in physical therapy, as well as teaching more topics to women that are Christ centered topics. So I'm really excited about this opportunity. Nancy, thank you so much for letting me just share a little bit on how I got through a crisis through my life and got my life turned around by taking better care of myself and allowing the joy of the Lord to be my strength and just being an encouragement to others that are going through tough times now because I've been there and God is so faithful. He will help us when we just acknowledge where we are and begin to take little steps to make things different. He'll come alongside us and help us get things turned around for the better because he wants us to finish strong. He really does. And he will show us different little things that we can do. If none of the tips sound appealing to you, that's okay. There's other things out there that you can do that will help keep you going in the right direction for the long haul.
Well, thank you, Tasha, and congratulations on that
Thank you.
accomplishment. You've been
Thank you.
accepted, and in a few months from now, you'll be Dr. Weatherspoon.
Oh,
That's pretty amazing.
it
You
is.
Thank you for sharing that wonderful tidbit on that, on what's going on that end. And also thank you for making time and being so authentic and vulnerable with the topic regarding self-care. I know that there are people who can relate and are appreciating that you have done this. We hope that all who have been watching and listening have been both encouraged and empowered. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and join us for Activation Talks again soon.